Okay, I want to give you an example of a way that you could do your plate. If you just wanted to use your pen maybe, and I'm going to use a gold paint pen as well. So I'm going black and gold on this. But I just want to give you another option. Like really, the whole point of this box is to be creative, to create something that you love, using the supplies that you received and using lettering. Okay, so the first thing that I just want to show you is if we were to take, of course, we created this bee with a paintbrush, and that's how we got those thick lines. But you could create the same type of bee with just your pen. So if we wanted to do that, there wouldn't be any thickness to it, but we'd still draw the same basic shapes, like basic strokes and everything, and we'd get the letter B. And so I want to show you, for my guideline, I could make it in half because I don't need it so big when I have such a small pen. But it's that same concept. So I'm going to write a word, and the word is beautiful. So I'm going to write this in the same style that we learned with the paintbrush. But of course, I'm not adding any thickness. So this is why a monoline script is a little bit easier to start with, because the thin and thick portion doesn't really apply. So there's beautiful. But what I want to show you is how you can start to change and manipulate the basic strokes to kind of get a different look. So if we take this same bee and we could make it big, we could do kind of a really tiny O form, a little E, little O form, big underturn, little underturn, bigger underturn, T, another underturn. Notice I'm not crossing the T yet. Big descending loop, little underturn, big underturn, ascending loop and underturn combined, big crossbar, and bring that up. Something like this, we could add a big loop on that B. But just look at how different these two look compared to each other. But it's all the same basic strokes that we have going on here. And there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason to how you know when to make things smaller or bigger. Part of it is just practicing and playing. But kind of a good rule of thumb is once you do a few things that are small, throw in a bigger one, then go back. Then this one's small, then bigger. We've got bigger, small, big, little, big. So kind of play with the size. So you wouldn't want to do all tiny and then all big. You kind of want to mix. So do a few that are larger strokes, a few that are smaller, and go back and forth. So what I'm going to do on my plate is I'm going to kind of do this style where I'm taking these basic letters that we know that are based on the basic strokes, and I'm just going to expand and enlarge and shrink and change and manipulate those different strokes to get a totally different look. And I'm really hoping I spelled beautiful right, because now it's looking funny, but I'm pretty sure that's right. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this onto my plate and get that lettered on. And I haven't decided if I want to add any like illustrative details. Also in your workbook, there's some examples from Shelley that have these like sketches that you could use as inspiration before you painted, but you could totally use those as inspiration just to put on here. Even without paint, they could be really cute. The other thing that's in your workbook that could be super helpful, there's some lettered phrases. This is an example of one that uses the pen and the paintbrush, but there's also these cute little fall illustrations and things here, and more phrases on the back. But just feel free, like just because the example in the workbook in the other video I showed you was like this, with this, all the flowers on it, like this is yours. This is your project to be creative and do how you want. So I just want to give you another way that you could do it. So let's jump in. We're going to put something like this on this plate. So before we want to put it on the plate, I want to create my whole composition. So I kind of just want to walk you through that process. just so that you know kind of what I'm thinking about before I'm doing a composition. So I love how this beautiful actually turned out. So what I like to do is with my tracing paper, I'll just put it over the top and that will fit on my plate. That size is good. So I'll just put it over the top and I'll trace the exact thing. So there I have beautiful. But the other things I needed to add was collect. I wanted to write collect beautiful moments. So one option, because I'm liking how the beautiful turned out, I could just use a guideline here and I could just write collect out like that. Beautiful, and then maybe moments goes over here. And just bring that up a little bit more so it's a little bit closer. Kind of digging that. But if I wanted to write out the whole thing all at once, I would probably start with the first word. So I'd start with collect. And I'm going to try to make it a little bit smaller. A good thing to do with double letters is make one larger than the other. So then I have collect, and then I know B is going to have this big B here. So I'm going to put my B like here. And I just want to make sure I leave enough room for my T and my F. And then when I'm thinking about crossing this, I kind of want to fill up this space. So I know for the B, it's going to come like this, but I have all this negative space here. So I'm thinking maybe a long one like that to kind of fill it up. Collect beautiful moments. And the M, I'm going to make, even though we're going with lowercase here, I'm going to make that one a little bit bigger. Because this is kind of feeling empty. So I'm like, I wonder if that could be even bigger when I do it. So that's kind of how I would go through it. And you're really just trying to fill up that space. And of course, like if you don't want to do this style, you can totally stick with this, and that's going to be really beautiful too, like collect beautiful moments. Honestly, I think I'm going to go with this one because I think it's going to be easier to get it exactly how I want. And I'm not loving this little gap of negative space right here, and I'm not sure, unless I made that M bigger, could do that. I'm kind of liking, I can't decide. What do you guys think? I just feel like this one is going to be easier to execute on my plate than that one will be. So let's go for it. So the other thing I want to show you really quick is just how to do faux calligraphy. So if we did want to add the thickness, even with this thin pen, we still could. So we would just add, anytime the pen is moving down, we would just add a thickness to it. So we could just go through and we just add a thickness to all of those sides. So this is something that's nice because it looks like the brush pen, even though it's not. And we can do the same thing here. Just again, anytime you're moving your pen down, the larger the strokes are, the harder they're gonna be to get. Versus the little ones are pretty easy. But this is something I like to do. One, if my monoline script, if I end up messing it up in an area, then I'm like, well, I'll just make it faux calligraphy now. So that's always an option. But it does have like a nice elegance to it, because it looks more like the brush lettering or the calligraphy. So anytime you're moving your pen down, you would just add a thickness to it like that. All right, so I ended up going with this bottom one that we did. And I did do the faux calligraphy, so I think it looks good. The last thing, I have my Krylon Gold Leafing Pen. You guys know I use these all the time for my wax seals, but I'm just gonna go across the rim in gold like this. And I think that's just gonna kind of finish it off and just make it look a little more complete. So I'll show you when that's done. All right, this is how it turned out. I think it's so cute. And so I love giving you guys lots of options, lots of ideas, so you can kind of go the direction you want. I mean, even with this one, you could add in some little watercolor florals, and that could be so cute as well. So let me know if you have any questions about this. I know we covered kind of a lot of different lettering tips in this video, but I hope it's helpful, and I hope it just helps expand your ideas of what you could do with what's in your box. Thanks for watching.